One topic of conversation that often comes up with recruitment is how to make recruitment move quicker. It's important in almost every market, but currently recruitment market is moving very quickly indeed, so it's even more important right now. Essentially, you need to focus on the parts of it you can control, which is the process of actually interviewing, assessing, hiring, which is under your control. How quickly people reach out to you, respond to adverts, things like that. It's very hard to control, although there are steps you can take. So focus on the piece you can really do something about, how quickly you move. Really, this boils down to three things. Firstly, have a plan. Second, make decisions. And third, communicate. If I break that down, have a plan. Be realistic about what you're looking for the job. Really hone down the skills, the knowledge, the requirements you have to make sure that you're being sensible and realistic about what you can get and what people are attracted to about your job. Avoid unnecessary steps in your recruitment process. Think about your assessment process. What are the different things you need to check? What are the things you need to do make those checks happen? And minimize them. Get them down to a sensible number. If you can combine steps, do so. If you can get a process down to 1 or 2 stages, that's just going to move quicker than a long drawn out process. It's better for someone, a candidate, to come in and meet 2 or 3 people or have 2 or 3 Zoom interviews in a row than to have those spread out over 3 weeks of their time. Don't duplicate what goes on in those steps either. Make sure that each step has a purpose, that everybody involved knows the purpose, and that once the purpose is fulfilled, you don't duplicate it at a later stage. Don't ask the same questions 3 times at 3 different interviews, unless you've missed something and want to go back and check it for a later stage. The third thing is look at schedules ahead. Check who's involved in your process, roughly when you'll need them, and make sure their diaries are clear. Don't fall down on, oh, that person's away for 3 weeks when we're expecting to be doing second interviews, for example. The more control you take over that and the better planned you make that stage, those stages, the more speedily your whole process will move, and therefore the better candidate experience will be had. The second thing I mentioned is decisions. Make them. Make them promptly after an interview or when you're looking at candidates' details. Don't hold off for some future date. Remember, when you're interviewing or assessing a candidate, you're looking at whether they can do the job, not comparing them to other candidates. You can do that if you have the luxury of having 3 or 4 candidates that can do the job. But realistically, every interview is, can this candidate do the job for us right now? Yes, no. Your decision then is, do we move them to the next stage of the process? That might be a later interview stage, or it might be an offer, but that's your decision. Make that decision promptly. The best way of doing that is to have wrap-ups at the end of interviews. Make sure all the interviewers meet, talk, and there is a consensus that comes from that decision, meeting, and a decision made. Finally, act on those decisions. Once you've said, yes, we're going to move this candidate to the next stage, reach out to the candidate and tell them, or make the offer. Do it promptly. Don't hang about. That part is under your control. The final thing I mentioned was communicate. All the way through this, tell the candidates what is going on. Tell stakeholders what is going on. If you've got stakeholders coming to a second stage of interview, let them know there are 2 candidates at first stage and that they should expect to see some people soon for a second stage of interview. If you've got a candidate that's been to an interview, you've decided you want to progress them, tell them. Even if you tell them, we really want to see you for the next stage, please bear with us for a couple of days while we arrange that, that's way better than them thinking they don't know what's going on. And it avoids a situation where somebody else talks to them and makes them an offer rather than waiting to complete their process with you. I can't emphasize enough how much that communication part about the plan is vitally important. Candidates who don't know what is going on assume the worst and therefore will go elsewhere. If they know what's going on, you have a far better chance of keeping them engaged in your process for as long as it takes. But, rolling back to my first point, have a plan, keep the plan as short as you can, and move the process, the parts you control, as quickly as you possibly can. Thanks very much.